very good morning to all the participants present in today's today's session. Umapada sir, can you hear me? Sir, am I audible to you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
sir. So, sir, with your due permission, shall we commence with the session?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Please.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, sir. So, okay. Very good morning to all the participants present here. I welcome you all to the 5-day-long faculty development program on evolving role of AI and ML in state-of-the-art research and development, organized by Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Institute of Engineering and Management, Kolkata. This FDP has been sponsored by AICTE. Today is the 4th day of the FDP, and we are grateful to have Dr. Umapada Pal as speaker of the first session of the day. Dr. Pal received his PhD from Indian Statistical Institute, and his PhD work was on the development of printed Bangla OCR system. He did his postdoctoral research at INRIA, France. From 1997, he is a faculty member of Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition Unit, CVPRU of ISI. And at present, he is a professor of CVPRU. His fields of research interest is different pattern recognition problems like digital document processing, optical character recognition, camera or video text processing, biometrics, document retrieval, keyword spotting, video analysis, to name a few. Sir has published 435 research papers in various international journals, conference proceedings, and edited volumes. Of significant impact in the document analysis research, in 2003, he received ICDAR Outstanding Young Researcher Award from International Association for Pattern Recognition, IAPR. Dr. Pal has been serving as General Program and Organizing Chair of many conferences, including International Conference on Document Analysis and Recognition, International Conference on Frontiers of Handwritten Recognition, International Workshop on Document Analysis and Systems, Asian Conference on Pattern Recognition, etc. He has supervised 16 PhD students. He has many international research collaborations, and currently he is supervising PhD students of 5 foreign universities. He is the founding co-editor-in-chief of Springer Nature Computer Science Journal. He is serving as associate editor of many journals like Pattern Recognition Journal, ACM Transaction of Asia. He has served as a guest editor of several special issues. He is a fellow of International Association for Pattern Recognition. Also, he is among the top 2% scientists in the world as listed by the Stanford University in 2020. The topic which Sir will be taking about is a continuation of the lecture of session 1 of this particular FDP. And the topic is pattern recognition. So we are eagerly waiting to hear from you, sir. Now over to you, sir.
Thank you and good morning. So thank you, Dr. Ghosh, for the introduction. Okay, so let me share the slide first. Okay. So can you see my slide now?
Yes, sir, we can see your slides.
Okay, very good. Okay, so the last class we discussed about some applications of pattern recognition, right? And also I discussed a little bit on document processing. So today I will give you more details on image retrieval and some part of the document processing as well. Okay, so let us first finish the remaining part of the document analysis part, then I will come to the retrieval and other part of the pattern recognition. So I think in the last class we were discussing about, let me check. Okay, I think we discussed up to the state line and what is the definition of the digital state line. Okay, So let me open this. Just one second. Okay. Yeah. So is it the slide is visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So as I mentioned you that for the different type of document skew correction, we can use different techniques, right? So for example, as I mentioned you, there are many techniques that can be used for a document skew detection and correction. So document skew means when you put or when you scan a document page, if the document page is not horizontal, then we will say it is skewed, right? So how to correct this one? Okay. So there are many techniques I discussed in my last class. And I was just wanted to tell you that there are some good techniques that is based on digital state line. So we already discussed that what is digital state line. So digital state line, maybe I just for your information, I'll just tell one more time. So in a piece of or set of pixels can be defined as a digital straight line if there exists a run of pixel in at most two directions which differ by 45 degrees, like this D1 and D2, it is 45 degrees only. So for run of two directions, the run length in one of the direction, it should be always one. For example, in this direction, D2 direction, just you see there are only one length. Here also it is one, here also one. But in the other direction can have at most two values differ by unity. That means if there are n character in this direction or in this run, in the next run it will be n or n plus 1. Okay. So if these properties are satisfied by the set of pixels, then those set of pixels are called digital straight line. So we use this digital straight line to find the straight path of many objects. So one such example is like this. So we know that Hindi and Bangla will have the headline or Shirorekha, right? So how to detect the Shirorekha? So if the text is in different orientation, right? So how this DSL or digital straight line can help us to find the digital straight line path correctly. So you can see this is the original image. I just delete some of the small component from here because I don't need for this small component for my skew detection. So I just consider only the bigger part of the document. So how I can delete this small component? So perhaps you know there is a technique called component leveling in pattern recognition. Component leveling means how you can detect individual component from the images. So what do you mean by individual component? So component means if the pixels are connected one by one in a particular object, then we will say that object is a connected component. So for example, if I consider small I in English, so small I has two components. One is the dot, another is the lower line, that is the vertical line at the below of the dot, right? So these are the two components. So there are many techniques to detect the component from the images. So we use that technique to detect the individual component, and we can detect the size of the component, and we can just consider whether it is less than some threshold or greater than the threshold, and we can just keep those things which are bigger than the threshold values. In that case, you can just delete all the small components from the images, or maybe noises from the images. So you understand what is component, right? So similarly, small j has two components like this. No? So if we delete this small component from this image, we will have the bigger component that is shown in B in these images. And now, if we just consider the upper profile of each of the words in this document, then we will have this sort of shape. Okay, that means for each component, we are considering the uppermost points with their profile information. Okay, so what do you mean by profile? So profile means, for example, you have a word and you just see the word from a particular direction, then which pixel you can see. Okay, so those pixels are the profile from that particular direction. So for example, if you consider the top profile, then you will see all these pixels. For example, this word Ami in Bengali, you can see all these pixels here. You can see from the top. So similarly, for example, this one, if you see, if you consider this word, so for this word, you will get this sort of profile pixel if you see from the top. So we are just considering the top profile, then we are getting this sort of pixels. And now from this pixel, if you use these DSL properties or digital state line properties, then we can get this sort of lines, right? You can see from the lines, only the state part is there. So we have a set of pixel here. From this set of pixel, we consider another set of pixel where those pixels satisfy this DSL property. And these lines are the digital state line we obtain from this image. And now, from this digital state line, if you can detect the leftmost point of the line and the rightmost point of the line, and then if you join, then easily you can detect the skew of the document or skew of the line. So you can get the skew of the individual lines, and based on the individual lines skew, you can detect the skew of the whole document. You can take the average of these or any measure you can consider, right? So this is the overall idea how you can use DSL, for example, the skew detection, right? Okay. So I think you got the idea. So I will not take much time for this. So after detecting this digital state line part from the images, as I mentioned you, so individual line will give you, that means first point and the last point like this, A and B, the first point of this line and B is the last point of this line. If you join these two lines, then we can detect the skew perfectly. But the problem is how you can detect this line. So you have a set of pixels or maybe set of line segments, right? So there are many segments. So how we will say that these segments are from the same line? Can you think on that? So my question is, from this document, we are getting this sort of line segments, right? So now if I ask you, how many lines are there in these DSL pixels? How to detect that one? So you can use any clustering or any other technique for that. So we know the clustering algorithm. So I will not discuss here. So we can use that clustering, and that cluster can easily cluster how many lines are there. So if you know the lines, you just take the first point and the last point, then you take the skew angle of the line. Okay. So for example, you can use many techniques. So one technique, maybe I just briefly tell you. So you just compute which line has the highest length. Maybe let's say CL is the line where it has the highest length, right? And now you just detect, right? the distance of the other line segment from this line. So what happens in that case? So those lines, or those line segments which are parallel to this, they have, and also in the same line, they will have the same distance. So for example, all these segments have the same distance with this line. So let's say this is 20 distance. So it will be 20, 19, 20, something. It's very similar to 20, okay? Similarly, from all the segments of this line, the distance of this will be same, maybe 30 or something. Here maybe 40, here maybe little high. Similarly here. So we know that what are the distance from other line segment from this line, and that distance can be clustered easily. You don't need any pattern recognition technique clustering for this. You can cluster in different way. You just find the distance and then cluster the distance. Then you can get how many lines are there. Okay. And for individual line, you can detect the skew. And then if you take the average, then you will get the actual skew of this document. So similarly, it can be done for Devanagari and other techniques, right? Okay, but can you use this technique for this set of document? No. Why? Because here we consider only the single skew, but here we have the multi-skew. That means individual text line has his own skew. Can you see this one? It's a very complex problem, but this is a synthetic image we have generated, let's say, because in real time you may not get, or real example you may not get this sort of complex, but you can get some document where you will have multi-skew or multiple line with different skew. So how will detect the skew from this document? So let me show you one demo system what we have developed. You will see in this system. Okay, let me. Okay, so this is the system we have developed for multi-skew document detection. So for example, here, if you just open a document like this, maybe I'll just take the similar document like this, you see? And now, if you detect the skew of this individual line, then you can see here, so our system is detecting there are how many lines and what are the angle of each of this line. You can see from here, line number 1, it is 15 degree. Line number 2 is about 8 degrees, something like that. So this is 1 and this is 2, something, okay? And line number 7 is more or less 180 degrees, that means 0 degree. So it is 178 degrees, something like this. Okay. So that means if you have a complex document and there are many lines with various style, maybe some is bigger. Can you see here in the left side? These are the bigger side, these are the smaller side. So you can detect the lines and you can detect the skew from each of the line based on this technique. So what is this technique? How we can do this, right? We cannot use the DSL here. We cannot use the other technique we discussed in the last class, for example, horizontal histogram. We cannot, right? So the technique is basically this is based on the clustering. So how we cluster? We cluster the individual component based on the distance. So distance-based clustering technique has been used here to detect the individual line. And as soon as you will get the individual line, you can detect the skew of the individual line easily, right? So this is one of the examples when you can have the complex document and you can get the corresponding skew of the each of the line of the complex. Okay. Similarly, for example, if you see an example of the map, So let's say I'm just opening a map like this, and let's say this is a map from Australia, right? And now, so if I ask you how many words are there in this map, or if I ask you, can you tell me where is Sydney? Something like that. Okay. So how to get that? So maybe you need to spot the words in this map, or you can recognize this map and then you know, okay, where is Sydney, and you can easily detect the location, right? Okay, so before coming to that part, so let me ask one more question, that how many words are there, or how many words means here city name, let's say. So how many city names are there in this map? So how to detect that one? So city name means word. So word has a property. So character in a word will be in clustered form, right? That means all character in a word will be very near to near, and we can say, okay, particular word is a particular city. So we have developed a system. So for example, map detection, it can automatically detect the corresponding words, that means city name. So let me try and we will see what is happening. Can you see that? Individual words, and maybe I'll just make a zoom for you. What is the problem? Oh, I don't know how to. Anyway, that is the problem here. No. Oh, what to do? Maybe I will go back to 100%, right? Okay. And now you can see individual lines are detected and they are marked by or joined by a line. So that means we know how many lines are there. So how we can do this? Actually, this is also, as I told you, this is also based on the clustering technique. And that clustering technique cluster each of the words. Okay, you can see here, this is one word, this is another one. Okay, and we can easily detect how many words are there. Right? Okay, let me, how to, yeah, okay. Anyway, so we'll go back to the presentation. Right. So we can detect the complex document skew, or even from the map also we can detect the skew from the each individual words in the map, because in the map the words are written in different orientation, right? Sometimes this way, sometimes this way. So you don't know how it is written in the map, but this system can easily detect that one. And also it can easily detect the location of that individual word. That means we can retrieve the positional information of a particular city from the map. Right? Anyway, so this is regarding the skew detection and correction. So similarly, when we write something, for example, answer script or something, students are writing, so that there may be some slant also, right? So what is slant? The slant is the character inclination that is normally found in cursive writing, okay, and that is known as slant. So that means, you see here, it is right slanted. That means the characters are written like this. So if you correct this one, then you will see the last word is the corrected slant, or corrected word, the slant corrected word. So how to detect this slant? So for example, when you have a handwritten, so you know handwritten recognition is a very challenging and difficult thing. So how we can handle the handwritten recognition? I will come to that part later. But before that, I just want to, so if your handwritten examples are slanted, how to correct the slant? Okay. So actually, you see, so slant means the straight lines, the vertical lines are not vertical. It is some sort of slanted like this. So that means if you can compute the angle from this middle zone of the character, so you can see the second example that is marked in B. So middle zones are this part of the M, S, part of the D, R, T, etc. And that middle zone, if you can compute, and if you can find the angle of this middle zone, then we can detect the slant. There are many techniques for the slanting. So let's say we will use a particular technique of pattern recognition here. So for example, chain code. Perhaps you know the chain code of pattern recognition. The chain code means when you have all the border pixels of an object. So what do you mean by border pixel? That is edge pixel, right? That means those pixels which lie at the border or boundary part of the object. That is called the border pixel or edge pixel. Okay. There are many techniques to detect the edge pixel. We will not discuss here. Maybe there is some sound is coming. Some people are working. So let me close the window. I'm sorry. Perhaps it is better now. Okay, so what I was telling, so boundary pixel. So we can easily detect the boundary pixel based on the information of the pixels itself. So if you know boundary pixel or the edge pixel of an object, we can easily detect the slant. How we will do that? So for example, this is an object. Let's say it is a character D. And you see the boundary pixel is marked by in the B image. In the B, you'll see all the boundary pixel. So boundary may be outer boundary and inner boundary, right? So you see there are two lines basically. One is giving the outer boundary and another one is giving the inner boundary of the pixel, right? So if you consider, let's say the boundary pixels, and if we use the chain code information, so maybe you don't know the chain code. So let me discuss first the chain code or the directional chain code. So for example, we can divide this boundary pixel in 8 numbers. Let's say N0 is one group. Let's say number or group as in, right? So N0, N1, N2, N3, N4, N5, N6, and N7. So how we will mark this one? It depends on the direction. So for example, if you consider this one as the origin, so that means the, let's say, starting pixel. So this is the starting pixel and the next pixel. So the angle of the starting pixel and the next pixel is, if it is 0, that means if it is 0 degree, then it is N0. If it is 45 degree, then it is N1. If it is 90 degree, N2. So for example, here in the right side, so let's say bottommost point is the starting point. So this is 1 pixel. So, and the next pixel is here. So what is the angle here? It is 45 degree. So it will be considered as N1. Similarly, from this is starting point now, from this to this is N2 because it is like 90 degree. Similarly, N2 from this point to this point, it will be like N1 again. Similarly, this will be N2 and this will be N3. From this to this will be N3, right? So what we are doing actually, we are just traversing the outer pixels, and based on the traversing, we are getting the information about the N0, N1, N2, N3, N4 like this. So we are getting the direction in the we are getting information in 7 directions, right? So if you know this 7 direction, so it's very easy to compute this one. You can easily write the program for this in C or any other language. to compute these values of the n1, n2 up to n7. And now we compute the angle theta. So what is angle theta? Theta is this angle, this one. That means how this word is slanted. Slanted means what is the angle of these lines from the vertical line. Okay, that is the slant. So now if we consider the theta, so tan theta, let's say. So what is tan theta? Tan theta means this value is by this one. So we'll just consider how many n1 and how many n3 we have from the images, and how many n1, how many n2, and how many n3 we receive from the images. If we divide these two, then you will get the theta, and that theta is the actual angle. And if you rotate that one, then your slant will be corrected. Okay. So what is the correction? This is detection. Slant detection is theta, and now we correct. So you know, correction is nothing but a some sort of rotation of the points. So if you know the rotation angle, you can easily rotate the image based on this angle. So we can use this formula. So x is the original one. So next x1 or x dash will be x plus y tan theta, and y dash will be same as earlier y, because the slant will be corrected only based on the vertical increments. Okay. So for example, this is the original image, and after slant correction, you will get like this. So we have developed techniques for slant correction. Maybe I'll just show you one of our system to get the idea. Let me check the slant correction. Okay. So here in this program, so you just give your input as the word, and then the slant will be corrected. So for example, I'm just opening an image. Let's say this is one of the Bengali word. And now if you use slant correction, then it will detect the slant, and also it will rotate the image accordingly to have the corrected one. Can you see? So this is the before slant, and now after slant correction. Okay. So maybe I'll just show you some example of our system in English. Okay. There are some images here. So let's say this one. You see here. So if you use after slant correction, then maybe slant will be corrected like this. Okay. I hope you got the idea that how we can correct the slant. So why you are correcting the slant? Because if we correct the slant, your accuracy will be enhanced. Okay, so to have the better accuracy, is better to correct the slant before going for recognition. That's why we use slant correction. So for the slant correction, we need two techniques. One is contour points. Okay, and another one, the chain code information of the contour point. So as I mentioned you, so there are many techniques for the contour point detection, right? So contour means it is at the boundary, not inside the character. So for a simple example, let's say how we can get this boundary point. If a pixel, if you just consider one pixel here, and if you consider the edge neighbor of this, if all the edge neighbor of this pixel is the same value of this pixel, then you can say this pixel in the inside of that. Otherwise, we will say it is boundary pixel, right? So let's say we have a binary image. So as I mentioned, you binary means two values, not the gray. Gray means it is 256 values. So if you have a binary image, then you can easily detect which are the border pixel and which are the inner pixel, right? Based on the nearest neighbor or maybe edge neighbor information is enough for this. Okay. Anyway, I think you have the idea that this is the basic idea of the pattern recognition. So we will not consider those things here. And I'll just go for the next one, that is, we can easily detect the slant or handwriting. So it doesn't matter in which language you have written. It will work for all handwriting, right? But slant may be two ways, no? The right slant and maybe left slant also. I don't know, but most of the people use the right slant, left slant only few people like this. Okay. Okay, so this is the example. So now, when you have corrected the document, so our next objective is to feature extraction. So as I mentioned you in the pattern recognition, so main steps are you have to get the image, you have to pre-process the image. So pre-processing means you can remove some of the noise, you can enhance the image quality. So this sort of pre-processing. Then you have to go for feature extraction. So feature extraction is one of the important aspects for pattern recognition. So if you have a very good features, definitely you will get very high accuracy. If your features are not good, that means it is not distinctive enough, then you will get lower accuracy, definitely, right? So feature extraction is one of the important steps of pattern recognition. So feature can be extracted in different areas. So for example, in image, we have mostly two areas. One is if it is a binary image, let's say, or maybe gray level. So foreground and background. What do you mean by foreground? Foreground means the object part. You can see here I have written an image A. So the pixels on the character A are the foreground area, and the pixel in the other part of A, that means which are not on A, is the background area. So we know now background and foreground. So we can compute the features from the background. We can also compute the features from the foreground. It depends what type of feature you want to compute and what is the objective of the work. Okay. So foreground features means features obtained from the foreground part of the object or characters or maybe image. Similarly, background features is from the background part of the image. Right? So many features can be computed based on the shape of the character, that is the structural, maybe the statistical information of the pixel information, that is the statistical feature. So for example, we can compute the mean, median, mode, standard deviation. So many statistical measures can be computed from the images. Topological features. So features that preserve through deformation or twisting or stretching the object. Okay. So for example, if we consider the feature loop, loop means, so for example, what is the loop? For example, if you consider the uppercase character B, so that uppercase character will have two loops, right? The loop means white part covered by black part. Okay, so black is the object and what is the background? Then we will say the loop is the white part covered by the black part. So for example, if you have a character with a loop, and if you rotate or twist the character or maybe paste the character or object, the loop will be remain loop. It will not change. That's why that is the topological feature. Similarly, people also compute many features like textural feature. So what do you mean by texture? So textural features actually provide information in the spatial arrangement of color intensities in the images. So for example, you can see the right side. This is the images has some texture. So texture is some sort of, let's say, repetition of the same thing. That is another texture. So that means spatial arrangement of the intensity values is the texture information. So similarly, we can compute the defined feature from the background also, that is convex hull, water reservoir concept, etc. So you know the convex hull or convex set, right? So a set of points, so you know the definition of the convex set, and from the convex set, we can also compute the convex hull. Okay, so these are the options from background areas. Okay, so let us give you a very simple example how we can develop a system, any pattern recognition system, for example, based on the features. So our application is, let's say, develop a system for recognition of the character. And here we consider printed characters. Okay, so let us first consider only this 5 English uppercase character A, B, C, M, and X. Why I consider this 5? To give you the idea clearly, okay, and easily. So what type of features we use for identity? So your problem is, so let's say I'm giving an assignment to you. Okay, write a program so that you can identify an image, and your program will say this image is A or B or C or M or F. Okay. So what type of program or what type of features you will use? That means if you can detect the features, you can write the corresponding program for the feature. Okay. So for example, let me tell you about this. So for example, for these 5 characters, if we compute the vertical line, so which character or which characters have vertical line? Only these two, B and N. Okay, so if you compute the vertical line, we can say, okay, if vertical line exists, that means it is either A or M. If no vertical line, maybe it is A or C or X, right? So that means if you want to design a classifier now, so let's say we are designing not a general classifier, that's a particular binary classifier. So you know binary classifier. That means we have each node, we have the 2 way where if these properties or these features exist, you will go this way or this way, right? So for example, here I am in this node, I am checking whether vertical line is there or not. So that means B and M will be one class and A, C, X will be another class. Okay, so how we will compute the vertical line? So if we consider the image as a binary image, that means it contains 2 values, let's say 0 and 1. So 1 means, let's say, object pixel, that is part of the characters, and 0 means background. You can consider, as I told you earlier, you can consider 0 as the part of the character and 1 is, it depends on you. So for us, let's say 1 means it is the part of the character. So you see, vertical means you will have the 1 in vertical direction consecutively. You can see there are many 1 pixel you will get in vertical direction here, 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 here in this way. So if you say, okay, there are, so we know the height of the object. It is very easy. You know the aspect ratio also. That is a ratio between height and width. So we can compute the height of the object. And now we'll see if the 1 pixel lies vertically and number of consecutive those 1 pixel is about the height of the character, then we will say, oh, that there is a vertical line in that object. Right? So it's very easy to write this program. So we can easily detect that this is a vertical line, this is a vertical line, and we can consider these 2 characters in a one group, as I mentioned you earlier, and ACX in the other group. Right? And now we have B and M in the one group. How we'll classify from B and M? There are many techniques. You can think many good features and you can just implement that. But for me, I just use a very simple example here. Maybe you can just think a better way to do this. So I will just check the vertical line lies in the left side of the character or right side of the character. So for example, for B, the vertical line lies in the left side of the character, whereas in the M, the vertical line lies in the right side of the character. So we can easily identify B and M from the BM characters, right? And now we'll come to the other set, that means ACX. So for ACX, if we consider the slanted line like this slant, not this slant. So if you consider this slant, then we will have A and X is having this slant and C no slant, right? So then A and X will be one group and C will be another group. Okay. And then how we'll detect the A and X? So if you consider the right slant, then also we will get in X here right slant and E also here there is a right slant. Okay. So you can decide which one is the good features for you and you can implement. So one feature to distinguish between A and X is the loop. You see here, there's a loop. So I already mentioned the loop is another feature, that is white part bounded by black area. So in the A, in the upper part, you see there is a loop here. I am just showing you by mouse. Perhaps you can see my mouse. And this area, I am getting the loop, but in X there is no loop. So we can easily identify different characters. So here I have shown only 5 characters to give you the idea. But you can generalize this idea for a large set of characters. Let's say there are 26 characters, or maybe 52 characters, both uppercase and lowercase. How will do this? Similarly, for in Hindi or Bangla, there are so many characters, right? Including the compound character or conjunct character, right? How to do this? Actually, this is the example for the beginner. Because nowadays people don't use vertical line, horizontal line like that. Just to give you the idea. So there are many sophisticated techniques, non-deep learning technique, and also nowadays people are using deep learning technique where when you have very large samples for training, people use a deep learning model to train the system and then to get the classic. Okay. So people are using now many good techniques for the handwriting also, and they are getting very high accuracy for handwriting character. As you know, handwriting character is very difficult because the writing style is different from person to person, right? So your handwriting is very much difficult for me to read, perhaps. Similarly, it is very difficult for the computer also to read, right? Anyway, so this is just example to show or to get the idea how actually pattern recognition technique used for classification. So similarly, if you consider this sort of Bangla and Hindi characters, you see, if you consider the vertical line, then we will get the vertical line for this, for this. In fact, except this character, all characters are vertical line. But we can consider the position of the vertical line, whether it is the left side or right side or the middle portion. For example, here it is the middle, here is the right, here also right, and here left. So we can use the positional information. Not only vertical line, we can use different other features line-based feature, curve-based feature. We can detect the curve. We can detect several other measures from this and to compute the features. Anyway, so I'm not taking much time for this. You got the idea, so let me proceed for that. So there are different statistical features as I mentioned you earlier. That is the mean, median, standard deviation, moment, different moments, histograms, directional projection. Those set of features can be used to find the behavior of an object or maybe character. Okay, for us. And now the problem is when the object is rotated, how we identify this one. So rotated means, for example, you have a mobile, right? So you can easily say it is mobile. If it is like this, you will say it is mobile. It is also mobile. So that means your features, it will be detected in such a way, so it doesn't matter whether your object is rotated or not. Okay. So how you can detect these features, right? So for example, this one is very easy for you. If I rotate in different orientation, you will say this is mobile, right? And now we consider the two characters 6 and 9. Okay. Now if you rotate 6 in anti-clockwise 90 degree, what happens? So maybe there will be some problem when you will confuse 6 and 9 if it is rotated, because 6 can be obtained by rotating 9 or 9 can be obtained by rotating 6. So just rotation invariant feature cannot be detected for some of the characters, right? Anyway, so here I will just give you how we can use some sort of rotation invariant features to solve some of the problems. Not all, because 6 and 9 cannot be solved in this way. We need some extra features for that. So for rotation invariant feature, that means the features what you will compute should be invariant to rotation. That is called rotation invariant feature. Okay. So for example, just to have the idea, we have a character K and we rotate the character K like this, let's say 90 degree clockwise. Then you will get the right side. And now, if we consider the center of gravity of this object, so object is for us is an image, right? So we have an image, and if we compute the center of gravity, how will compute the center of gravity? It's very easy. So you know the coordinate of each of the pixel of the object, that means object pixel. So I am telling object pixel, and this is our foreground pixel, and this is background pixel, non-object pixel. So we know the pixel, foreground pixel coordinate of each of the points. And that means we know xi and yi for I equal to 1 to n if there are n foreground pixel. So just take the summation I equal to 1 to n xi by n, and that will give you the normal center of gravity of the x. That is normal for any, in physics in lower class we have used this. So summation xi by n, summation y by n is the center of gravity. Let's say this red point is the center of gravity for the image. And from this center of gravity, we just consider some circle. Center is this CG and radius is changing. So let's say we consider 4 circles with different radius and same center, concentric circle. And now if we consider the number of pixels in each of these circles, you see from the innermost circle R4, number of pixel, black pixel will be only this part. R2 is only this, and this, and maybe this part. R3. R2 is here, 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 and here. Similarly, R1 this, right? So we can compute the number of black pixels in each of the region R1, R2, R3, and R4. Now, if you rotate this object 90 degree and do the same thing, you just compute the center of gravity. So you know center of gravity will not change even the characters are rotated in arbitrary angle, right? So CG will be the same. And if we do the same thing, that means if we compute the 4 concentric circle and compute the pixel in each of this region, so number of pixel in each of this region will be same to this. That means if we rotate the character, these features will not change. So this is one of the rotation invariant features. So there are many rotation invariant features. So this is called zoning or ring-based features, or we can also tell as zone-based features. So it's just dividing the images or object into zones, and you are computing the features. Okay. Another contour-based feature that is also rotation invariant feature. So, for example, contour means, let's say A, B, C, D, E are 5 contour pixels like this. And if you rotate this A, B, C, D or this object in 90 degree, you will get A, B, C, D like this, right? So this object is the rotation of this one. And now, if we consider the angle between 3 points or among 3 points, let's say ABC, so the angle at B, what will be the angle? So if you join BA and BC, the angle will be 180 degree. Similarly, BCD, that means this angle, it will be 135. CDE, it is a straight 180 degree. And now we rotate this ABCDE 180 degree, 90 degree clockwise, you will get this one. And now compute again those angles, that means ABC, it is 180 degrees, BCD, it is 135 degree, and CDE is 180 degree. You can see before rotation and after rotation angle is same. That means we are calculating the angle in such a way so that this measures is rotation invariant. Okay, so this is also one example of rotation invariant features you can use for your object detection. So, for example, if you have an object of a pen, if you rotate in this one, you will get the same behavior of the pen if you compute this sort of features. So, for example, I have shown here 2 characters M, and what is this? So maybe let's say M, but in different orientation. But you know, M and W are the same object if you rotate one object and we'll get the other, right? So you can see the M and this rotated M or W have the same features if we compute this sort of features. That's why rotation invariant features can be used easily for their identification, but the problem will be when you have the 2 objects where one object can be obtained by the rotation of the another, then you will have some problem. Like as I mentioned you, 6 and 9, similarly M and W like this. Okay. But anyway, these are the very small problems we can solve. But I just wanted to give you rotation invariant features in pattern recognition, how it works and how we can identify different objects from this, right? Okay, so there are many drawbacks. If we just use, let's say, vertical lines or maybe slanted line, or let's say structural features. Because if the image has some noise, the image may be broken and you will have some problem. That's why we need some sort of pre-processing. I told you So before feature extraction, better to have some pre-processing to get better images or the better classification. Okay. There are many drawbacks if we go for feature-based technique, but earlier most of the technique for pattern recognition community is based on the features. But nowadays we are in deep learning era, so people are using just deep learning to compute easily or to classify easily the object without any handcrafted features. Okay. Anyway, and this is the example. For example, if I ask you, okay, can you now? So you know basic pattern recognition thing. What is that? We know the image, we know the pre-processing technique, we know the feature extraction. Let's say this is the classical problem for pattern recognition: pre-processing, feature extraction, classification, and then we will go for post-processing. Post-processing means we will correct some of the errors if possible. Let's say we are not using post-processing now, we are go up to classification. So for classification, we can use many, there are many classifier in pattern recognition technique. So for example, you can use a normal classifier, the binary classifier. You can use the support vector machine. You can use HMM, hidden Markov model. You can use neural network nowadays, CNN, deep learning, so many classifier you can use, or your network you can use for recognition. And now if I give you a small assignment, okay, can you just tell me how to develop a system which can easily identify this number? Okay, so for example, this can be used as one of the postal sorting or parcel sorting system. Actually, I have shown you the parcel sorting system earlier, last class. So you see the parcel sorting system, they take the address, read the address, and based on the address, the robot will carry the parcel to that particular box or particular destination. So how to detect the address? So one important aspect in the address, you see in the postal automation, or maybe let's say in your parcel automation, the PIN code is one of the important aspects. So what do you mean by PIN code? It is the postal code, right? The postal code generally written by this numeral. So if you have a very good numeral recognition system, you don't need to recognize the other part of the address for the postal or maybe parcel recognition. Just PIN code is enough, right? But the problem is people has to write the full PIN code. But you see, most of us, when we write something, okay, we write Kolkata 75, New Delhi 1. So that is not enough. The PIN code contain only 1. New Delhi 1 means just one character is there. So for example, Indian Statistical Institute, the PIN code is Kolkata 108. We will say 108. But there are 700, then 108. So if you write full PIN code, then if we can recognize the full PIN code, it is enough. But if you don't have the full PIN code, then you have to recognize the other part. So Kolkata 1 and Delhi 1. So 1 is not enough. You have to identify the city name then, Kolkata or Delhi. Okay. So forget about this. These are the more complex things we don't want to discuss in here. Here, my idea is to give you the brief idea so that you can get the overall idea of this. So you have, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 9. That means 10 numeral. And if you want to classify this 10 numeral, how will proceed? Okay. So let's say, as we know some of the features, so consider the loop features. So loop present or no. So you see, if yes, that means loop is there in 0, 4, 6, 8, and 9, right? So that means we can classify these 10 objects into 2 sets containing 5 objects, that means 5 character 0, 4, 6, 8, 9 in one class and the remaining in the other class. Okay. So we can just know now using loop feature, we can easily identify 0, 4, 6, 8 and 9. Then how we'll classify again this set? We'll see that whether the lower part of the loop features is the lower part of the character or not. For example, this loop is up to the lowermost boundary. This loop is up to the lowermost boundary, but this loop is not up to the lowermost boundary, right? So that means if we just use some other feature, the loop is touching in the lowermost boundary or not. If no, then it will be 9 and 4. If yes, then it will be 0, 6 and 8. In fact, 8 we have 2 loops. You can easily identify 8 from the other class. Okay, so 0 and 6 will be the loops is touching the lowermost boundary of the object or character. 4 and 9 not touching. That means they are touching the upper one. So for identify further 0 and 6, what you can do? So we'll see the size of the loop is approximately the size of the character for 0, but it is not true for 6. Right? So we can easily identify this. Similarly, to identify 4 and 9, what we will do? Can you just tell me how to, or can you think how to identify 4 and 9 for this case? You can see for 4, we can have a vertical line, but here 9, there is no stick vertical line. But you see, this is because of the printed character. But when it is handwritten character, it will not work properly because in handwritten, you may not get this loop because sometimes when I write 0, maybe 0 is not completed the loop. Maybe there is some broken part. So it will not work actually. Here I plan to give you just idea. That's why you consider clear characters for you. Okay. Similarly, you can use for other characters also. Okay, I will not take much time. So let's say just to give you idea once more, presence of one loop is 0, 4, 9, 0, 4, 6 and 9. 2 loops is 8, so we will not consider here. Loop touching the lower boundary or upper boundary, and then you can classify. Similarly, you can classify 1, 2, 3, 5 and 7. Okay, how we'll do that? Maybe you can think. We will not discuss this thing here because it will take a lot of time in that case. Okay, so you got the idea. Similarly, if I ask you, can you classify these characters? So I have taken only a few characters from the upper set character in English to give you the idea. So here you can see, I can use, okay, that vertical line exists or not. If yes, then what are those characters? B, vertical line is there, D, E, F, H, I, J, K, L, M, and N, all are vertical line there. And vertical line is not there, other character, right? A, C, etc. We can also consider the vertical line is the left side or the right side, okay? Or how many vertical line? If it is 2 vertical line, it will be H, it will be M and K, okay? So you can use many features. So similarly, another feature is you just draw a line at the middle, okay? And you will see how many times this line is crossing the character. So for example, if we just draw a line at the B, see the line will be crossed at the most 3 times, 1, 2, 3. For E, 2 times. But in some cases, just 1 time and 2 times. For example, L, it is just 1 time. Okay, for I, it is 1 time. So those features, there are many features you can use, simple features that can be used for recognition of the good quality character. But if the characters are noisy, either we have to do some sort of pre-parsing, or we can do some sort of, if it is a video character, let's say, we can do some sort of super resolution on the character to enhance the character, and then we can recognize. Okay. So the super resolution is, for example, when you have a low resolution character, it is very difficult to recognize. So how to enhance that one? So there are many techniques for super resolution, and that people are using to get the higher quality of the image for the character. Right? Okay, so I'll not give you this. I think you have the idea now. So I'll just skip this part. You can just think at home how to identify different characters. And now, as soon as you have the idea, you can develop the system for English uppercase, English lowercase, many things. So here quickly, I'll just show you so that you can get the idea. So for example, if you have a vertical line, how many characters are vertical line? Okay, all the characters having vertical line are here, other characters are here. Now, those two vertical line here and here. Similarly, we can go one by one, and at the end, we can get only a single character. That means in the leaf node, we'll get a single character from this classifier, and that will give you the actual recognition. But how you know that which character is this? Okay, so actually, you just think about this. So for example, you are starting from here, and you are following some path, how you are going. Maybe you are going here, then you are going here, maybe then here. Okay, so just you think about, let's say, some buses are starting from, let's say, city center of Kolkata, and it is following some this road and then going to there. Then we know this is the bus number. So starting from there, going to there, and following some this way, then this is the bus number. Similarly here also, those characters which are going in this way and reaching this leaf node, we know this character will be A or B or C, something like that. So that follow the same way to identify the character, like bus number. Okay. Anyway, so we can follow the same technique for the, not only for the uppercase, maybe lowercase, and also handwriting. I will not discuss much about this. So this is for Bangla. We can use the similar technique like this. So actually, this is the technique we use for our initial OCR we have developed in ISI, that is based on this technique. But now the modified OCR is based on deep learning. In fact, I have shown you maybe last time in my last, not day before yesterday or this Monday, earlier in June, I have shown that script identification system that is based on deep learning. Okay, so we are basically working deep learning now to have the better accuracy. So there are many features that can be obtained from the images, and we can take the different features with different resolution. So that means, for example, we can compute the features in different dimensions. If you increase the dimension, you will get the better information of the characters. But if you increase the dimension, it will take more time. And also, sometimes, if you enhance the dimension, you will have some sort of error. Okay, so that means you have to trade off between the accuracy and also dimension. So people have used different dimensional features, and based on the different features, they compute the accuracy. So for example, here, this is the directional features. So that directional feature can be different way, maybe Hopf feature, histogram of a gradient. You know Hopf features, that is one of the popular feature technique in pattern recognition. So people use these Hopf features or directional chain code features to get higher dimensional features, and that can be used for your recognition purpose. So here, so for example, this is a character. The characters are divided into, initially, it is divided into 7 by 7 zone actually. It should be 7, not 6. So 7 by 7 zone. And then each of these zone, we compute the different chain code information. You know, we have the 8 directional code of chain code, N0, N1, today we discussed. N1, N0, N0, N1, N2 up to N7. So we just consider those directional features in each of these regions. How many N0, how many N1, how many N2, how many N4, like this. And that means, for example, each of the block, you are, let's say, 8 information. If there are 8 blocks, so 8 into 8, so 64 features, right? But if you have more blocks, you will have more features. Actually, in this work, we don't consider all the 8 pin code. Actually, N0 is similar to, maybe I'll just quickly give you some idea for this so that you can have, you see, N0 and N4 is same because this is horizontal. Similarly, N1 and N5 is same. So instead of 8 directional feature, we consider here 4 directional feature. So that means for each of these block, we will get 4 features. Okay, so 4 into how many blocks? So we have downsampled this one into this, and then we are getting 4 by 4. That means 16 blocks into each of these blocks, 16 features, N1, N0, N1, N2, and N4, N3. And so 4 into 16 equals to 64 dimensions. You can enhance this dimension, you can get better results, and you can have some ablation step. Okay, so this is basically the application of the different pattern technique for this document. Okay, and now we are just going to the pre-processing part, how we can use the segment, the different paragraph or columns from a document page. So you know that this page containing 2 columns. So what do you mean by column? Because between the column there will be a big white space. So if you can detect this white space, you can easily say how many columns are there, right? So similarly, when you have the column information, let's say I am asking you in the left column, that means this text, how many paragraphs are there? So you know what is the definition of the paragraph. The paragraph should have some sort of white space between the last line of the earlier paragraph and the below paragraph, right? So you can see this white space is important for paragraph detection. So for column detection, vertical lines, that means vertical white lines. For column, this is the column detection, and these are small one, horizontal way is the paragraph detection. So we can detect how many paragraphs, how many lines, how many columns, and how many paragraphs. And now we will go for line detection. So as you know, we can use the histogram information in the horizontal way, and that will give you the line detection. Then we can just compute the histogram in vertical way to get the word information. And then we can segment the characters. We can get the character information, and then you can use the earlier technique for pre-classifier for recognition. This is the complete system for this. Okay. So here I gave you the complete information about how we can do the document processing or OCR, optical character recognition, for this application as an application of the pattern, right? So I will not give you more things about this. I will just go back for other things. So you see, when you have a very complex document like this, it is very difficult to segment this one, right? So how to segment this? So for that, we have developed one system. Maybe I'll just show you the demonstration of the system quickly so that you can get the idea. You see, when you have a very complex document, maybe here, yeah. So let's say I'm just giving this as an image, and now if you just use our system for segmentation, and you can see here, so you see the characters are segmented from this one, and now you just take this individual component and go for the classifier, then you can get the recognition result. So how to segment this one? Actually, in this work, we have published, for this work, we have published a paper in pattern recognition in 2012 that will deal with this sort of segmentation. So we are using the profile feature or maybe some background based feature. So profile is coming from the background, and that background feature will help us to detect this sort of segmentation. Okay, so if we just consider maybe another one, maybe, yeah, so maybe this one. So this is the Hindi character, and it is totally rounded. Sorry. Actually, this laptop is very slow. Yeah, so you can see it is a rounded character, rounded line. Can you see this one? And now if we use this multi-oriented segmentation, so it can easily segment the characters from this. So it doesn't matter the rotation. You know, we discussed the rotation invariant features. So we use here rotation invariant feature for segmentation. Can you see that? So it is segmented and it doesn't matter about the rotation. Can you see? So it doesn't matter whether it is rotated or not. Okay. Anyway, so you got the idea. And now if I use, let me check, maybe, okay. Let's say for the line segmentation, in fact, we have developed some system. Let me check if it is running or not. I didn't check for this long time. Okay. So we consider, let's say, some images like this. You see, this is a handwritten document. And now if you use that line segmentation, let's see the result. Yeah, you see, all lines are segmented like this. So that means line number 1, line number 2. So these small lines, we have the thin line with the separator between two lines. So line can be segmented easily. Let me check with some other language, maybe here it is. Which language? It's taking time. I don't know. Oh, this is Uriya. See? And now if I use this line segmentation, so our system will convert the image into binary, and then from the binary it will just segment the lines and give you the separator of each line. Can you see? They have drawn the line, and this is the line segmentation. Okay. Yeah. So this can be used for any language for line segmentation. Okay, so let me come back to my talk. We don't have enough time. Sorry for that. Okay. Okay. So this is the complex document segmentation, and in fact, we can segment the characters and then go for recognition. And this is the technique that is water reservoir technique. I think you know this one. I discussed maybe earlier class. I'm not sure, But water reservoir technique is a very popular technique. People are using this technique. We proposed this technique maybe 15 years ago. And now this technique is very popular. Many people are using for different work. So water reservoir technique is like this. So for example, if you pour water from the top of the character, where the water will be stored is the reservoir, top reservoir. So for example, this is an object A. If you pour water from the top, water will be stored here. So that will be the top reservoir. So similarly, if you rotate the character 180 degree, the K will be like this. And if you pour water from the top, then the water will be stored here. That is the bottom reservoir. That means you rotate the image 180 degree, then you will get the reservoir. That is the bottom reservoir. So similarly, you can get the left reservoir, right reservoir. So that, for example, if it is a X, so top reservoir is the first one, bottom reservoir is this one, left is this, and right is this. So if you use the reservoir from different directions, that will help you in different ways for your recognition purpose. So we will not discuss here. Maybe if you are interested, we just search the water reservoir technique. So you will get that our PRL, pattern recognition letters paper, maybe 2004 or something, and you can get this information about this. In fact, a modified version of this is published in Pattern Recognition 2012. So if you are interested, you can see that one. I will not discuss this those things here. And here is another rotation invariant features. So there are many techniques for rotation invariant. So this is based on contour. You see, even the characters are different orientation, but the right side. So this is the character and this is the feature. This is the character, this is the feature. This is the character, this is the feature. So characters are different size, but the features is similar shape. Can you see? All the features are look similar. So, for example, this is the input character for Bangla. This is the input character for Hindi. And after computing the feature, rotation feature, we are getting this feature, this type of histogram. Can you see this histogram? This three histogram is same shape, but smaller in size because the inputs are in different shapes or different size. So we can have different type of features for this. So how you computed this one? Actually, we computed the CG and we computed the distance of the contour points, outer contour points of the characters. And then we normalize the contour points starting from the minimum most distance. That means the minimum most point will be the origin. And we'll take this part, and then we'll take the other part here. So if you do the same thing, you will get this sort of rotation invariant features. Okay, that means we compute the contour, and from the minimum point of the contour, you consider that origin, and you just add the upper part in the lower part. Then you will see. So you see, so Q is the origin. So that Q will be the first point of the lowermost image, and then you consider the upper part of Q and put that in the lower part of Q. That means this one, you will get this. So in this way, you will get the rotation invariant features for different characters or objects. Okay. So we will not consider this one. So as I mentioned, you there are different classifiers. That T classifier, that may be binary, jam, as you like. Neural network. Nowadays, people are using CNN, convolution neural network, and deep learning. And hidden Markov model. So that is popularly important for, or very popular for handwritten recognition. People use most of the handwritten system, earlier system is based on hidden Markov model. So that is, so perhaps you know the Markov model, right? That is the statistic, that model is from statistics, Markov behavior. So Markov behavior means, so when you are, let's say you are in a position X. So if you want to go to position, next position, it depends where are you now. So depending on your previous information, you just predict what will be the destination, or maybe what will be your path for the next one. So handwritten recognition, we follow these hidden properties, Markov properties, and that Markov model can be used for handwritten recognition. And people have used in many systems they developed for postal automation or something earlier. They use this HMM. So support vector machine, SVM. So perhaps you have some idea about SVM. So people use the SVM for many classification problem in pattern recognition. Nowadays, people are combining different classifiers and also combining different network, deep network, to get the better results in your system. Okay. So as you know, that the popular or most toughest conference in pattern recognition is the CVPR. So in the CVPR, the Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition Conference, so if you want to see the latest work of different classifier or different deep learning, you can go through the CVPR paper. Then there you will get the idea how the people are changing the deep models for better application in different areas. Okay. Sorry, I just crossed this one. So I will not take much time from you. So post-processing, that means the aim is to correct error during the recognition. That means after recognition, how to enhance the recognition accuracy based on some post-processing. Okay, so that is the post-processing module of the pattern recognition technique. So multi-script, that means instead of single script, if there are many scripts, how we'll do that? I will not consider this one, so I will just skip here. I just want to give you some idea in 5 minutes. So this is the handwritten line segmentation. We have already shown the demonstration for that. I will not consider because of the lack of time, so it's okay. I can just go back. Okay, and just I want to give you some sort of one. So perhaps I don't know. Do you know that dynamic programming? So actually, dynamic programming is a technique that is basically help you to optimize the solution. That means to get the optimal solution, people use dynamic programming. So it decreases time complexity, but it increases space complexity. So how it works? Actually, this dynamic programming works in the following way. So it breaks the complex problem into simple sub-problem. Okay, that means we have a very complex problem. You divide this complex problem into small sub-problem. So sub-problem will be simpler. That means simpler in nature. Find the optimal solution in each of these sub-problems and store this sub-problem results in your memory. That is called memorization of this technique, this step. And reuse this memorized information. You can use array or some other data structure to store that, that means to remember those results of the sub-problem and use the sub-problem in your main problem. And finally calculate the results of the complex problem using the results of the store sub-problem. So this is the dynamic program. That means dynamically you are getting the way how we will proceed. Okay. So for example, just to give the idea, yeah. So for example, you have to go from A to J, let's say. So how you can go from A to J? There are many ways. You can go from A to B, then B to G, G to I, then I to J, or A to C, C to E, E to H, H to J, something like that. So there are many ways to go from one path to another. Which one will be the optimal? How to detect? So dynamic programming can help us for this optimal problem to detect the optimal way to get this complex problem or to solve this complex problem. So dynamic programming has been also used for handwriting recognition, even for printed character recognition earlier, and that was giving the best way to get the higher results. Okay. Anyway, but people are nowadays using the deep learning technique. Deep learning means you have lots of samples. You train the sample to get the information about the object, that means the features information, and then you will go for the classifier. That's all. You don't need the handcrafted feature for this. Okay. Anyway, so I just tell you what are the different measures for recognition. So different measures are recognition rate, error rate, rejection rate, and the reliability. So what do you mean by reliability? So reliability means how you can rely a system. That means the developed system should be highly reliable. For example, postal automation. If your system is not reliable, you cannot use that. Reliable means whatever you are recognizing or sending the postal document, okay, go to this city, that means I am 100% sure it is going to the correct destination. So if it is not, then it will go wrongly there and come back here, something like that. So that's why the reliability should be higher in some of the recognition stage. Instead, we can reject a lot of things. So for example, I will reject 50%, but the reliability should be 100%. So that means for postal automation, if you use this technique, the 50% documents or postal document will be sorted by human, but whatever sorted by the machine, that is correct. That is the reliability. Okay. So how you can rely a system, that is the reliability. Okay, so there are many systems, and if you see, if we reject 24% data, we will get 100% reliability. That means it's better instead of rejecting 3% and getting 98% reliability, because about 2% cases you don't know where it is going, right? But instead, we can manually sort 24%. And you can get 100% reliability. Okay. Anyway, so just quick, I will just mention about the retrieval. So that means when you have an object, how to get the similar object. Perhaps you are using nowadays Google, right? So in Google search, you just use the text. You can use also the image. So when you give the image, you will see a lot of similar image will be retrieved. So how to retrieve that? Okay, so we can use the text retrieval, we can use the content-based image retrieval. There are many techniques in pattern recognition for that. So I'll just give you the some technique for this, maybe in 5 minutes. And before that, I'll just give you the measure. How we'll measure the retrieval system. So there are two popular measures, that is precision and recall. So the recall is TP by TP plus Fn. So what is the TP? So this is actually the confusion matrix. TP is the true positive. That means the correct result. FP is the false positive. That means unexpected result. Fn is the false negative. That means falsely you are getting some correct results, or similarly you can get Tn, the true negative. That means correct absence of the result. That means you are missing something. So based on these four observation, TP, FP, Fn, Tn, we can have two measures. So this is the two popular measure for retrieval, and precision and recall. And precision is this one, and recall is this one. Okay. Okay, and for this, actually, I just want to give you one simple idea how we can use or retrieve some words from the document. Okay, so what is an object? How to get this object? Okay, so for example, if you have an image like this, and if you have a word like Kolkata, how you can get the word Kolkata from this image? Or how we can get this word from this image? Okay. So one example, I just want to tell you, for example, if you want to search Indian, this word Indian, one simple example, but this is to give you idea, okay? And that one is, you just see where is the position of the lines, vertical line. You see, there is a vertical line here, 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 here. You see here. And what is the height of the vertical line and what is the relative distance from one to next vertical line. You can see that this distance is small, this distance is bigger, this distance again bigger. So we can use this sort of measure to get quick retrieve from the words from the document. But these sort of things, features can be used for printed document, but it cannot be used for handwritten. So what about the handwritten document? There are many techniques for retrievals or spotting that Indian, like printed Indian, handwritten Indian, or maybe handwritten words, printed words, and also different objects. So for example, if you have a logo, ISI logo or IEM logo, how to detect those logos. So there are many techniques nowadays. The people are using different patterns and techniques to retrieve those sort of documents. Anyway, so just to conclude now, because I don't have time to give you more information about that, I'm sorry for that. So I just discussed about some application of pattern recognition in document analysis for its recognition, for its retrieval. Okay, but there are lots of work in this area, but for Indian languages, still we don't have many pieces of work. So we need a lot of work for Indian languages. So if you are interested for this application of pattern recognition, I request please go through some paper. Maybe you can just give some project to your masters or maybe undergraduate student, and we can have some work through this student. So please motivate to your student and work at least for some of the areas which is applicable for our country. So thank you very much. I'm sorry a little bit delay. So we can stop now. Or if you want to know more anything, let me know. I can discuss. No problem from my side. Okay, so thank you very much.
Sir, and not at all. If the participants are willing, and we can obviously continue.
I'm not getting you.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes. Could you
Yes.
please? Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, sir. Actually, I was saying that the session was so very interesting that I don't think anybody would be objecting to continue the session. But the time constraint is something which is stopping us.
Yes, definitely,
Yeah.
yes.
But thank you so much, sir. I mean, we were looking at words and lines for since the day we started learning how to write and read, but we didn't look it from this many point of views, as in how to extract the line and how to correct the slant correction.
Right.
So you showed the applications, and it was an eye opener for all of us. So thank you very much for showing us the applications as well as explaining how the things are actually being done. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I would request Professor Tufan Shah to kindly share your screen. So, sir, actually, since this particular activity is being conducted in the virtual mode, so we could not meet and greet you in public. Therefore, we have prepared a virtual clerk or certificate for you. So please accept it on our behalf. And thank you so very much for this particular session. It was so informative. I was taking notes and I have completed around 3 to 4 pages. So thank you very much, sir. Thanks.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thanks to the organizer and also especially thanks to IEM for inviting me to share my knowledge in front of this participant. So I can see there are many participants, about 75 participants now. So thank you all, and thanks to the participants for attending this class. So thank you very much. And if you have any question or maybe any comment, suggestion, so you can send me by email, or if you need any papers, I will be glad to share not only my papers and other papers also. If you don't find it, let me know. I will be glad to help you for this. Okay. So thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. So if you have any question, because I took a lot of time, so maybe now I can answer. Otherwise, you just send me by email. I will just reply that one. Okay.
So to all the participants, if you have any question, please you can post it in the chat box, as well as you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly to sir. Or else, sir has already mentioned that if you have any questions, if any questions rise up later, then you please mail it to sir, or you can send us and we will do that on your behalf.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Okay, so you have a tea break, or maybe next session is starting now.
Sir, the next session is supposed to start from 11:30 a.m.
Okay, so it's okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you have any question later or any suggestion, please send me and I'll be glad to answer. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Okay then. Thank you. And mail
sir,
ID.
yes.
Yeah. So it is there already. But anyway, I am writing here Umapodo. What happened?
Sir,
umapodo@isical.ac.in. That is my official email address. Okay. Yes, and you can use my Yahoo also. I'm giving that one. This one. Okay. Yahoo.com. So as the last class, or maybe this class, that Dr. Ghosh already mentioned, that you know that ICPR conference, no, this is the first time in India, and that will be 2024 in Kolkata. So we are organizing. So I request you, please find some time to participate and also send some papers. And that will be good for us, because generally Indian participants is very small in this sort of big conference, because the travel fund and also registration fee is very high. So this is the opportunity for you, because you just come to Kolkata. Is not, you don't have to pay a lot of travel fare, and also you don't have to go abroad. So this is the opportunity for you to attend ICPR 2024, at least in Kolkata. So please try to attend with your student, because all the big people from pattern recognition community generally attend this conference. And you can interact with them, you can get many suggestions, many discussions with them. So please try, okay? Yeah, so I'm working on Kashmiri script, yes. Yeah, so if you need any help from Kashmiri, in fact, we did OCR for Arabic also. So definitely I can help you. So let me know if you need anything. I don't know who has written. Maybe no.
Sir, it is from Majid Bashir.
Okay. Anyway, so you can send me email, and I'll be glad to help you if you need anything. Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So I have given my email address, and everything is there. So you can send me if you have any questions. Right.
All right. Sure.
Okay. So thank you, and I am leaving then.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Have a good day.
Same to you. Thank you.
All right. To all the participants present in this meeting, please note that the next session will be starting from 11:30 a.m. and it will run till 1 p.m. So we have around a 9 minutes break till the next session. And the attendance come feedback link, the form link will be shared in this particular Zoom meetings at chat box at 3 p.m. and the form will be open only till 3:30 p.m. So please be vigilant in that time frame and please give your attendance. Whilst you're giving your attendance, please make sure you're using the same credentials and the details which you have used while registering in the AICTE Atal portal. Thank you, everyone.